sea lions here, and he's going to do a little bit of showing off to begin with, but later on he'll disappear and we'll bring out our oldest sea lion. He's called Marvin. Our third member of the gang, Merlin, he's having a break in the corner pool at the moment. They all get a chance to do that throughout the course of the day, have a little break on their own, away from the others, a chance to relax. He was out on stage at 12 o'clock, so now having a well-earned break. You might see him out on stage the next time you visit us here. But we're going to concentrate on Matteo and Marvin today. All three of the sea lions here are the same species. They're California sea lions. They were all bred in different zoos, but they're normally found along the west coastline of America. You see these animals as far north as Canada, as far south as the Gulf of Mexico, but the biggest population, that's along the California coast, hence the name. They breed very successfully in zoos. We have actually bred them here in the past many years ago. We may do again one day in the future, but at the moment we've no plans to breed them. We've only got the 3 boys here. And the main reason for this is they're not an endangered species. If they were, we'd promote breeding here at the zoo. But in the wild at the moment, there's an estimated population of around 315,000, so they're currently not classed as endangered or threatened. And the other thing is, they breed so successfully, you can end up overrun with baby sea lions if you're not careful. That's why we've just got 3 males here at the current time. Now, Matteo joined us from Dublin Zoo when he was a pup. He was 18 months old when he arrived. He's now 5 years old, so he's settled in well here. And he may live to be 25, possibly even 30. These animals can live to 25, sometimes 30 in a zoo like this. In the wild, the maximum lifespan is 15 to 20 years. And sadly, it's rare that they live to that age in the wild. Here in a zoo, we can treat them when they get ill. We have great vets who can help us to look after the animals. They also have no competition for food here, and here there aren't any predators. In the wild, every time they enter the water, they face creatures like killer whales trying to eat them. They actually spend most of their life on land, because out on dry land they have no natural predators, but they have to go into the water to find food. They feed on fish, squid, eel and octopus, and competition for that food in the wild is becoming more and more fierce. As fish stocks become depleted, the sea lions are having to work harder and travel further to find the food they need. Here in a zoo though, finding food is not a problem, but they can get bored. That is a problem. Here in a zoo like this, if we leave them to just swim around and throw them fish now and again, they're happy to do that for a week or two, maybe even a month or two, but eventually they start getting bored. So here, we keep them very active. We keep them busy by training them different things. All the training is based on positive reinforcement, just rewarding the animal whenever they do anything well. That encourages the behaviour. He should give you all a wave. If you all stick an arm in the air, give him a wave, he should wave back. That's what we like to see. Look at that, give him all a wave. There's a little wave for you. Yes, he learned to wave when he was just a pup. It doesn't take long to train something like that. He also likes clapping. And believe it or not, every time you clap, you're helping me to train this sea lion. So if you see him clapping, you've got the right idea. So you give him a little round of applause. It gives him that bit of encouragement. Now, sea lions are marine mammals. They feed on fish, squid, eel and octopus, but fish makes up most of that diet. They are well formed for life in the water, but as we said, they actually spend the majority of their life on land with this species of sea lion, because on land they are safe. Here in the zoo, they don't have to worry about predators, they don't have to worry about finding food, they don't have to worry about much. So giving them different things to do is important, just keep them stimulated. The first thing they learn to do is this, it's called targeting. We've got a stick with a yellow spot on the end. And we train the sea lions to just follow the yellow spot around with their nose, like this. Wherever I move that stick, which we call a target, he keeps his nose on the yellow spot. It's easy to train. You just reward them every time they touch it. So the first time their nose goes anywhere near the yellow spot, you give them a pat on the back and give them a piece of fish. And that encourages them to put their nose back on the spot to get another pat on the back and another piece of fish. You only have to reward them a few times for just touching the spot, and they'll start to follow it like this. After a few days of practice, they'll follow it anywhere. So the target becomes like a lead. And if I want that fish to follow me anywhere, if I want him to move from pool to pool, or if I just want him to stand still, I can use the target. He keeps his nose on the yellow spot. Really, really useful in the early days of training. And you can train lots of animals to do this. Dogs, dolphins, if you've got the time and the patience, you can train your dog to do this quite easily. Dogs and sea lions are very, very similar. Quite closely related. They've got a similar level of intelligence. So training a sea lion, just like training your dog at home, it's all about rewarding them with either food or attention, or both. If you give them a pat on the back, if you say, well done, good boy, that encourages them. Giving them a piece of fish encourages the animal. And if you use both together, you get the best results. Now, if I put the target on the floor, Come back up here, please. If I put the target on the floor, he should lay down next to it. Like that. Good boy. Nice and relaxed. Now, when he's relaxed like this, we can examine him all over the body. We can do a quick body check from nose to tail. He's not worried, he's not anxious. And because we've done this with him every day since he was a pup, he'll now let the vet do this too. So when the vet pays a visit, he's trained to lay here, nice and still. The vet can stand where I'm standing and examine him. And he's also learned to roll over, like that. So we can check his stomach too. And this is the first thing we train them all to do. It's very simple, very basic, but it makes a visit from the vet less stressful for everyone. Well done, Matt. He's also trained to open his mouth. When I do this, he does that. He opens his mouth. He keeps his mouth open so we can check his teeth, his tongue, and the back of his throat. This is known as cooperative healthcare. And it's really important training. It just makes a visit from the vet less stressful. If the animals are not trained at all, they have to be trapped in a small cage so a vet can get close to them. So just teach them to do all this, just makes that visit from the vet a lot easier. Now they are actually furry. They look smooth, slippery when they're wet, but they're actually covered by fur coats. When they're wet, the fur sticks tight to them, making them more streamlined in the water. When they dry off, they go all fluffy, and it does them no harm at all to dry off. Around the neck area, the male or bull sea lions, not the females, only the males, develop a slight mane around their neck. The fur around the neck is slightly thicker than the fur on the rest of the body, and that's the reason for the name sea lion. They're often confused with seals. Now, the animals you see around the coast here in Britain are seals, not sea lions, and they are slightly different. They're members of the same family, a family group called pinnipeds, which includes walruses too, and some awkward animals called fur seals, which we'll get to in a minute. People tend to recognise a walrus when they see one, but people always get confused between sea lions and seals. One way to tell them apart is to look at their ears. If you look closely on the side of Matteo's head, just where I'm pointing there, you can see little ears that stick out from the side of the head. All species of sea lion have these ear flaps, but seals, true seals, don't. A seal's ear is just a little hole on the side of its head. So if the ears stick out, it's a sea lion. Simple as that. Sea lions, they have big front flippers. Very big, very powerful. They grow roughly to the length of a human arm. Look at the size of these front flippers. They're very, very big. If he was a seal, his front flipper would be a lot smaller. When fully grown, a seal's front flipper is about the size of my hand. So you can see there a massive size difference. And that's because the two animals swim differently. Sea lions, they use the big front flippers to sweep their body through the water. Seals instead swim using the back flippers by moving them from side to side. That's why their front flippers are not so big. Seals only use the front flippers for steering. Sea lions steer using the back flippers. And watch how he walks. He walks with his flippers like this. He can run, he can jump, he can climb, he can use all four flippers to walk about. Using the back flippers, tucking them underneath the body, that lifts the whole body off the ground, so sea lions can walk on all four flippers. A seal can't do that. Now, we don't have any seals here, but Matteo does a good impression of one. If you see a seal on the beach here in Britain, they move kind of like this. They sort of bounce along on their belly, rather like a giant caterpillar. They can't stand up like a sea lion. They have to bounce along by moving their spine in a wave-like motion. And that, everyone, is how you tell seals from sea lions. It's easy, really. Good impression of Matteo. Well done to you. Yes, that's how you tell a sea lion from a seal. Look at the flippers, look at the ears, watch how they move in the water, watch how they move on land. You can tell which is which. But there are some awkward animals called fur seals. Now, fur seals aren't actually seals. A fur seal is actually more closely related to a sea lion, but that's where it all starts to get really confusing, so we'll move on. We've got some hoops up here. Now, giving the animals different toys to play with is one way of keeping them occupied and preventing them from getting bored. But you've got to be careful, because anything that fits in the mouth can be a choking hazard, as it can with a young child. So we've got to be really careful what toys we give the animals. If it fits in the mouth, it can prove fatal. But these hoops are a good toy. When he was a little pup, he just played with them in the water. But he soon got bored of doing that. So one day, we taught him to do this. We threw the hoops in the pool, and we waited for him to bring one back. We had to wait a while the first time we did this. But now when I throw the 5 hoops in the pool, he gathers all 5 up, brings all 5 back to me. If you take your dog for a walk in the park and throw them a ball or a toy, the dog will chase what you throw, When they bring it back, give them a reward, give them a treat, you train them to retrieve. And I'm sure many of you out there have done just that. There you go. Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of you out there that have trained your dog to retrieve a ball or a toy in the park. All it takes is a little pat on the back when they bring the ball back. You train your animal to retrieve. Easy. Now, once he's learned to do that, we started practicing catching the hoops. Now, this takes a lot more skill and a lot more practice. When I throw the hoops to Matteo, he's got to stretch out his long neck to catch them over his head. Are you ready? He's good at this now, but he wasn't at first. No sea lions are good at catching like this at first. They're naturally good at catching because they've got binocular vision. Two eyes that face forward, like you and me, so they can judge distance and speed. But they're used to catching fish in the mouth. Catching the hoops over the head, that's a bit different. They've got to learn to keep their mouth closed first of all. But once they've learned to do that, they become pretty good at this. And if he gets all five, give him a clap. Well caught, Matteo. That's good catching. Very good catching. But can we do it again, and can we make it a bit harder? The answer is yes, hopefully. We're going to flip the hoops this time. When we flip them, he's got to adjust his head at the last second to make a catch. So this is much more difficult. It takes a lot more skill and a lot more practice to catch like this. Are you ready, Matteo? Watch the hoops carefully. Now, if he misses a hoop, it doesn't matter. The training is all about rewarding them for doing well. If they make a mistake, we don't care. If he misses a hoop, it doesn't matter to us. And he does miss them occasionally. This is hard. He's not had much practice at catching like this. But the more we practice, the more his skills improve. He keeps getting better and better at this every time he puts in the practice. If he gets 5 out of 5, he's done really well. That's brilliant. Well done, little man. That is excellent catching. And on that note, this little fella is going to leave us now. He's going to go and relax in the other pool for a few minutes so we can introduce you to Marvin. Marvin and Matteo get on quite well together, but they're also highly competitive and they both like to be the centre of attention, which is why he's got to leave the stage for a few minutes now so we can bring out Marvin. Give him a little clap as he disappears. He has done very, very well. Good performance from Matteo. Well, let me tell you about Marvin. Marvin was born in Whipsnade Wild Animal Park. He joined us here when he was 18 months old. And I've been working with him since that first day. He's now 23 years of age. In the wild, as we said, they live a maximum of 15 to 20 years. And sadly, 40 to 60% born in the wild don't make it past the age of 2. There is a high infant mortality rate. That's down to predators, it's down to lack of food, it's down to pollution, overfishing. But here in a zoo, where those things are not such a problem, this extends the lifespan. So at the age of 23, he's still pretty fit, pretty healthy. His eyesight isn't quite as good as it once was, but still pretty good. He's still got all his teeth, which is incredible. Now, sadly, in the wild, when they lose their front teeth, they can't survive. They can't survive in the wild without their front teeth because they can't catch and hold on to fish. When the front teeth fall out, that's the end of the road for a California sea lion, because finding and catching food is difficult without those teeth. But they can actually survive in the wild if they go blind, one of the rare mammals that can. We'll explain how in a minute or two. Now, Marvin's trained to open his mouth so he can check his teeth. Just like Matteo, he will open his mouth on a simple signal. I just touch him on the chin. He opens his mouth like that. Say, thank you. He blows his nose too. When I touch him on the nose, he does this. He blows his nose every time. And that's trained so we can take a mucus sample. They can suffer from lung infections and infections in the nose and throat. Respiratory infections are quite common, but they can be quite serious. If you teach them to do that, you can take a sample of what comes out, you can send it to the lab, you can test it. If there are any nasty bugs or bacteria in there, we can treat the animal with the correct medication. That's why we teach them all to blow their nose. When they're relaxed, their nostrils close tight shut. And that's very clever. That stops water going up their nose when they're swimming about. They actually have to open their nostrils each time they inhale or exhale. Now, we've mentioned one predator that sea lions face. That's the killer whale, a fellow marine mammal. Marvin does a good impression of the other predator they face, which is a fish, the shark. Now, we've got to be more precise. Most sharks don't eat sea lions, and they don't eat surfers. Most sharks are actually harmless. They've got a bad reputation, sharks, but most of them perfectly harmless to us and to sea lions like Marvin. But There are three that do prey on these animals. They are tiger sharks, bull sharks, and the notorious great white sharks. They all feed on sea lions like this, if they can catch them. So what would you do, Marvin, if you spotted a shark or a killer whale? Leg it, yes, head for dry land. These animals stay close to the beach when hunting to avoid those predators. Yeah, most of the time when hunting for food, they try to stay close to the shore. And then if a killer whale or a shark approaches, they can race for dry land where they're safe from those predators. But they sometimes have to venture far out into the ocean. That's when they're vulnerable. When they go far out into the Pacific Ocean, they can't swim as fast as a shark or a killer whale. So the only way they can avoid them, they can't race for dry land, there'll only be one winner, it's not the sea lion. They instead twist and turn, they rely on their flexibility. They might not be as fast as a shark or a killer whale, but they have an incredibly flexible spine, so they can sometimes outmaneuver them. Now, if you look around the nose, they've got long, bristly whiskers. The whiskers are an important feature in the wild. The whiskers are very sensitive. Each one of them has a very strong nerve at the base, and that makes these whiskers more sensitive by far than our fingertips. They can use them when it's dark or murky in the ocean. They can use them to find fish. When a fish swims, it moves its tail from side to side. That creates little waves in the water. The whiskers can detect these wave patterns, and by following them quickly in the right direction, it gives them food. So that's how they hunt when they can't see, and it's thanks to the whiskers that they can survive even if they go blind. So as we said earlier, they can't survive without their front teeth, but they can survive without their vision. Here in the zoo, we're not allowed to put live fish in the food. It's not permitted. So here they can't use their whiskers in the same way they naturally use them. But this is how we've got Marvin using his whiskers. Ball balancing. Something sea lions are famous for. Now this is nothing to do with eyesight. He can do this with his eyes shut. He's learned to balance the ball on his nose by learning to use his whiskers to feel which way it's moving. When that ball moves in any direction, it's pressing on his very sensitive whiskers, and he is reacting by moving his nose slightly. It took him a few months to learn how to do this. It took our other sea lion Merlin a few years to learn how to balance. They're all different. People often ask me, how long does it take to train a sea lion? And you can't answer that question because they all learn at different speeds, they all have different skills, and no two are the same. Like us humans, they've all got different learning abilities, so we just work at their pace. Matteo has been practicing this for 4 years now and he can't do it. He drops the ball every time. But that doesn't matter because it's keeping him occupied trying. The fact is he might never learn to do it. Some of them don't ever get the idea, but they all have the ability. Marvin, after years and years of practice, makes it look easy. He can keep his head fairly still and the ball hardly seems to move. But he is actually moving his nose all the time, just slightly, depending on the feelings he's getting from his whiskers. Good balance that, Marvin. Well done to you, my friend. Very good. But we can make it much more difficult by swapping the object he's got to balance. He can balance this on his nose. We've got a bowling ball. Now, compared to a basketball, this is a lot harder to balance because of its shape. It's only touching a few of those whiskers. So he's got to react the moment that skittle moves slightly to keep it on his nose. And when you've got fish bills, so it's much appreciated. The bonus is if you buy a poster for a £5, you get to pose for a photo with Matteo. Anyone that buys a poster for a £5, you can stand in front of Matteo, take some photos with him stood behind you. It is £5 per person, you do have to take your own photos, I will mention that. But if you like a picture, and if your cameras are waterproof, head out through that gate over there at the side of the pool after the show. Now Marvin's going to try the ball jump. This is a physical challenge. To do this, he's got to use all the strength in his front flippers. And doing this with him every day helps keep him fit. Helps keep those muscles in the chest and shoulders strong and powerful. He is aiming for that ball hanging above the pool up there. He's going to try and touch that ball with his nose. Now to jump that high takes a lot of effort. He weighs 20 stone or thereabouts, about 125 kilos. So to jump that high takes a lot of effort, and if he hits it, he deserves a big, big cheer. Now when you drop a 20-stone sea lion from a height like that, you can get a bit of a splash. Now I know you're already probably pretty wet, but it can get very wet on the front row over that side, guys. So if you are in that area, you can make a splash. We have to warn you, and that was your warning. Right then, Marvin, are you ready? Let's see if you can hit that ball. Are you feeling confident, Marvin? You are, good. He's going to give it his best shot. Let's give him a countdown from 3 to 1. Are you ready? 3,
2, 1.
Here he comes like a rocket! Brilliant jump and a brilliant way to end today's show. Thank you for that, Marvin. That was fantastic. And that just leaves me to say thank you all so much for coming. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope you all have a brilliant time here at Flamingo Land. From Marvin, Matteo and me, bye-bye. Have a very happy new year. Thank you. Bye for now, folks. See you later.
Hello everyone and welcome to the World of Birds display here at Flamingo Land. My name is Christine, I'm the here, and we're going to introduce you guys to the world of birds. Now, there are over 11,000 different species of bird found in every continent on our planet. They range from some of the coldest places on Earth to some of the hottest places on Earth. They also range in appearance, size, and also have very unique habitats too. They come in sizes from the smallest bird, which is the bee hummingbird, to the largest bird, which is of course the ostrich. Now we're going to introduce you guys to a few of the birds that we have here at the bird display, and we're going to start off with the parrots. So we're going to introduce you guys to one of our macaws. Now there are 17 different species of macaw, and the one we're going to introduce you guys is to a military macaw, and he's called Paddy. And Paddy is this beautiful bird over here. Now these guys get their species name in the military from their green coloured plumage, similar to that of a military uniform. And the military macaw as a species is vulnerable in the wild. So these guys aren't doing very well in the wild. And the biggest reason why not just military macaws, many parrots are not doing so well in the wild is down to the illegal pet trade. Now that's because over the recent years, parrots have of course become a very popular pet. And the main reason parrots have become popular is with their ability to mimic speech. So Paddy here is demonstrating that by saying hello. So that's the only thing you can say. That's the main reason people go out and buy a parrot. It's because they have the ability to mimic us. Now obviously with this, there are poachers going out into the wild where these guys are found, poaching them from their natural habitat, smuggling them over into our countries, and then selling them as pets. Now lots of these birds, of course, are wild caught, and all those wild caught birds are never used to human contact. So many of the birds that are caught, they're either caught as adults, young chicks, or even in some cases eggs too. And many of these birds don't even survive the journey. Okay, they are smuggled in not the most humane ways either. These birds have been found stuffed into plastic Coke bottles, plastic PVC pipes, and there was one gentleman discovered with lots of parrots basically strapped around his chest before his clothes. They were that determined to smuggle them over and basically sell them. So basically we don't advise you guys to go out and get a parrot unless you very much know what you're getting yourselves into, because a macaw like this can live anywhere between 16 to 18 years, and of course with a very large beak, they are very destructive, so anything that you've got lovely in you think is going to stay in you with a parrot in your house, it's definitely not. Okay, we refer to a parrot here in the bird show, okay, as a toddler in a feathery body with a pair of pliers attached to their face. Okay, so that's what a parrot is. Okay, so you trust me, you don't want to have one in your house. Okay, if you do get one, you're better off living in the middle of nowhere. Okay, because people are not going to be your best neighbours. You're not going to be your best neighbours when you're with these guys screaming their heads off. Now, obviously in captivity, we've got to keep our animals occupied. We do this by training them. We train them different activities, give them puzzles to do, put their food in enrichment to basically encourage natural foraging behaviours. And we also train our birds a bit of cooperative health care. So that basically means getting involved with daily health checks. Now, birds are very good at hiding illness, unfortunately, and that's because they're a prey species. So what we do detect that a bird is potentially unwell is by recording their weight. So we weigh all of our birds on a daily basis. So this is a T-stand, or basically a little portable perch, and we've trained all of our parrots to step onto the perch. Now it might look easy, but with some birds it can be rather difficult. Now this means we can get an accurate weight of the bird, and if we notice any fluctuations, it could be due to temperature, or it could be the fact that the bird's unwell. Now another useful thing we can use this little portable perch for is to do a bit of nail training. Okay, these birds have got very long nails, they're used for gripping, but they can get overgrown in captivity. So we basically taught our parrots to get involved with their health and nails. So basically, rather than restraining Paddy, like wrapping him in a towel, or in a worse scenario, having the bird put under anaesthetic, which can be very risky for a bird, we have trained him to get involved with his own health care. So rather than going to the sternum, all I do is present my hand, he offers his foot, okay, I can get the nail I want, file it, and then when he lets me do that, he gets a tasty treat. And not only does he do it that side, I can even come over this side, ask for the foot, again, file the nail, he's not bothered, he knows he gets a tasty treat, a well done from me, a round of applause for you guys, so well done. Now I'm sure you've seen the next thing, okay, at the sea lion show. I was a little bit smaller, target. So just like we train the sea lions to follow the target, parrots will follow the target. He's supposed to touch it, okay, and then I'll come over here, and he'll come racing over here. So this is very handy to train the bird to step onto the T-stand, to get the bird to move around in the aviary, to train it to go into a travel cave if it needs to go to the vets, several things like that. But he's done great out here, so we're going to pop him away and introduce you guys to the bird. Well done. You can pop your flag away, Paddy. Now, Paddy is in the paw, and the paws are typically found in Central America, in the rainforest of Brazil. This next bird is found in Africa. She is a softbill, and she is a species of turco. Now, a quick word of warning before she comes out. She is very friendly. Now, that's obviously not a bad thing, but in some scenarios, it's not very good for some people. So basically, this turco, when she likes to investigate our audience members, she likes to sit on your head. Okay? So I'm very sorry to you guys all the way at the back. We used to be able to bring her up the stairs. We cannot, because of her jumping on people's heads. Because we had a scenario where someone was not best pleased with her being sat on their head. Okay, so she will be very out here very briefly. She'll be running around. I'll try and get her so you can all see her, but she's only going to be out here for a short space of time because she does have a very short attention span. Now, to be precise, she's a Shallows turco. She's called ZZ, so here she is. She's a beautiful little bird here. Now, they get their species name, the Shallows turco, from the gentleman that discovered the species, Herman Shallows. He was an amateur ornithologist. And when he was out in Tanzania, where these birds are found, he discovered this species for the very first time. Because he was the first to discover it, he therefore got to be named after it. So these birds, they can fly, but as demonstrated there, Zizi likes to run around. They can also run along branches, but in this case, we've got ropes. They'll do short flights as well, do a little walk, so they are quite nimble. They don't do long distant flights, okay, because they're a small bird, they come in dense foresty areas. They obviously, there's not much room for them to fly around. So preferring to run and hop and scribble through the trees like this is the preferred method of them getting around. So you can see she's quite manoeuvrable, she's quite nimble, but she can be a bit clumsy on times. Now you'll also notice when she is flying that even though she's mainly green, she does have red primary feathers. Now those red feathers are used as a display. So the males will display them to females and they'll also use them to communicate this danger. Okay, so that form of communication will flash those red feathers, which can be spotted. It'll alert the other members in their flock as predators around, and it's also silent, so the predators don't know they're being spotted, and also the birds can be getting away quickly. Now you'll notice as well those little feathers on her head, they're called a crest. Now despite her being the smallest turco, or not the smallest, but one of the smallest, she's got the biggest crest. And those feathers, again, are used as communication. They can tell you how she's feeling. Also, they'll raise them when they're alarmed or when they're excited. And then they'll go flat down when they're nervous or scared. Now, she's done great out here. She's not jumped on anyone's heads. So we'll pop her away before she gets up with any more mischief. So that's the right idea, guys. Give her a particularly. So all good and easy. So you pop yourself away back into your little hatch there. So we're now going to meet a bird of prey. Now a bird of prey is any bird that hunts and catches its food using its feet, and they're very sharp talons, sharper than that of a parrot. Now this bird of prey is native to Britain, so you can see this bird flying around here naturally, but this bird is also found on every continent on our planet, okay, except for the Arctic, okay. Now I'm not going to tell you guys what he is, which I'm hoping one of you guys will be able to tell me. He's got a very unusual name, which I'll explain about further, but he's called Bundy, okay, and he's this beautiful bird here. So anyone know? Shout out, what is Bundy? Well done, he is a barn owl. Now Bundy's going to be coming up into the seating, he's going to be flying over your heads. Quick word of warning, duck. Okay, he has no sense of personal space, he does get pretty close. You may get hit by a wing, or you might get hit by one of these leather straps hanging from his jet legs, which are called jesses. Okay, a typical piece of walking equipment you use. It basically means we can keep the birds nice and safe with the trainers to win the day, and also when we're moving them around too. Now, barn owls are a nocturnal species of owl, so that means the most active at night. Okay, and that's the reason why he has those dark coloured eyes. That tells you when the owl is most active. It's what the people colour of their eyes. His are very dark. An owl that's active during the day has yellow eyes, and an owl that's crepuscular, so active at dawn and dusk, has orange eyes. Now, despite his excellent nighttime vision, he doesn't rely on that to find his food. He relies on his hearing. So we're going to put Bundy's hearing to the test. I'm going to keep him from looking where our other trainer made you. He's going to hide in the arena. She's going to hide somewhere. And then she's going to sound the buzzer. Okay, so it's a little noise. He associates that noise with truth. So let's see if we can find her. Look at that, you found her. So this is showing how they naturally hunt using their hearing. And they have a heart-shaped piece of feathers as well. And those heart-shaped feathers help with their hearing too. It basically acts like a satellite dish and captures sound, and then it channels toward the owl's ears, which you can't see on an owl because their ears are hidden beneath all the feathers. Let's see if you can find her again. There we go. Found her again. Well done. Give him a clap for that. Now, one final thing we'll demonstrate with Bundy is his silent flight. Okay, now this is unique with all owls. They've got special feathers that are designed to create no sound. So to prove this case, I'm going to be quiet on the microphone, and hopefully you'll be looking on the flight back down here. Okay, ready? Completely silent. Give him a clap. That was really, really well. That silent flight helps the owl when finding its food. Its food is things like mice and moles, which have excellent hearing, just like the owl does. So obviously if the owl's wings make noise, the prey will hear them in a way, and also the silent flight helps the owl to hear exactly where its prey is hiding also. So the next bird we're going to introduce you guys to is a scavenger, okay? Now he is the sole reason we ask you guys to hide your food. Okay, he is not afraid to come under your seat and help himself. Okay, so you have been warned. Okay, now he's also a species of bird that is not well loved. Okay, and we're going to hopefully change your mind today. Okay, by introducing you guys to two of them. We're going to start off with Derek. Okay, and Derek is our African hooded vulture. Here he is. Hello there, Derek. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Good to see you. Now you'll notice he's gone bright pink, and that means he's excited. So these guys blush just like we do. When he's excited, he's all bright pink in the face. When he's scared, he goes really pale white. Okay? So that's a good indicator that Derek is happy to be out here. If he wasn't happy, obviously he would indicate so, or he would just knock him out. Now with Derek, we're going to take him up in the seating, and we'll get him a bit closer to you guys. But going, he's a lot bigger, okay, than the barn owl, so he's a lot more clumsy, he's flying, okay, and he's got an impressive 5-foot wingspan, okay, so watch that as he's flying around. You got to fly somewhere, Derek. There we go. Now that impressive wingspan is very important when you're a vulture, because a vulture doesn't kill or catch his food like an owl does. He basically waits for stuff to die, or for a predator to make a kill, and whatever they leave behind, the vultures will eat. It's referred to as carrion, not very nice. In other words, death. Now, vultures, another reason why they have a bald head is to keep it clean, and also because of that diet. If you have a lovely head full of feathers, and you stuck it inside a dead rotten carcass, okay, obviously blood and guts will get covered in all those feathers, and obviously it's very hygienic. Now, lots of people also believe that vultures spread diseases, but they believe the opposite. Vultures actually get rid of disease, and they do this by eating unwanted meat. Obviously, if just their bodies letting around on the ground, they won't be clean. Now, vultures, in particular this species, is critically endangered, okay? The main reason why the hooded vulture, which is what Derek is an African hooded, as his species name suggests, found in Africa, the main reason for their decline and the reason why they're not doing so well in the wild is down to us. In particular, when it comes to poachers. Poachers obviously go around stealing ivory from elephants, rhino. Vultures just see a dead elephant, dead rhino on the ground as a great big meal. Rangers use vultures to indicate there's a poacher in the area, especially if there's been poaching activity going on. So basically, when vultures spot something dead lying on the ground, they don't go down straight away because something could eat them. What they do is circle. And then when they know it's safe, they will land and then feed. And they will eat so much that they can't fly. That's how greedy these birds are. And also, because the poachers don't like the fact that vultures circle above them when they're doing this illegal activity, once they've got their ivory, they poison the carcass, vultures come down to feed, just doing what they do naturally, and then they all die. Over 2,000 hooded vultures were seen on one carcass, and they were all wiped out. And that was just due to that. Now, Derek is fantastic out here, and I'm sure you'd agree, he's a fantastic chap. So Derek, can you pop yourself there after these people? Yes, you can. Well done. So we're going from a critically endangered vulture to one that is classed as least concern. So we've gone from a vulture that's found in Africa to a vulture that's found in South America. Okay, he's a turkey vulture, getting his species name from his appearance. He does resemble a turkey, sort of, in a sense. He's called Vernon, okay, and Vernon is a very unique vulture, okay, and a bird in general. Now, the turkey vulture doesn't have the biggest of eyes. So if you notice that Vernon here doesn't have very big eyes. Derek has massive eyes. He only has tiny eyes as Vernon. And that's because, unlike most birds which rely on sight, like the hooded vulture, he spots a dead carcass lying on the ground from a mile away. This guy has better eyesight. And also, because he comes from South America, there's a lot more trees around in that part of the world than there is in Africa, a lot more dense areas, so he's not going to spot a carcass on the ground either. So instead, this bird smells or sniffs out his food. So if you look closely at Vernon, he's got what looks like an absolutely massive nostril, okay? But that is not his nostril. His nostril's under that bit of bone that looks like he has got a big nostril there. And that bit of bone, again, stops food from going up his nose when he's feeding. And these guys can smell a piece of rotten meat from up to a mile away, which is pretty impressive. And also, if you put that in perspective, if you guys were sat down at the bottom of the park having a burger or eating chips, just think burger would probably smell you all the way up here in the bird shirt. Okay, so that's how impressive their sense of smell is. And you can see that very massive airspace that they have there. And obviously those large wings, again, are used to trap all air thermals, which is the rise and cushion of warm rising air that occurs naturally, allowing these birds to soar effortlessly for days, even weeks, until they find their next meal, because they never know when it's coming from. Now he's done great out here, so Vernon, can you do one final slide back to me? He's like, come on, get your foot out of here, what? Go on, you can do it. There we go, very much into our turkey vulture there. One final bird, and he is the biggest that you're going to see here. He's the bird of prey that we have here. He's also another owl, okay? So we're going to meet our second species of owl, which is the European eagle owl that we have here at the show. As the name suggests, found across mainland Europe. He's called Neo, okay? And Neo is this stunning bird that's going to appear here. Here he is. So as you can see, he is many times bigger than the barn owl. To put it in perspective, this guy weighs 1.9 kilos. The barn owl only weighs 290 grams. Okay, so we weigh our birds daily, so we know how much they weigh. So you can see quite a weight difference. The barn owl feeds on things like rodents, little small items of prey. Sorry about this, guys, it's gonna go. Interesting fact, birds will go to the toilet to make themselves lighter. That's why if you scare a bird, you get pooed on. Okay, because you scare them, they're going to poo, then it means they can take flight quicker. So he was doing that to make himself lighter so he could fly. Now, as I was saying, he eats much larger prey than the barn owl. Anything from rabbits, hares, foxes, if they're particularly hungry, small deer as well, which is pretty impressive. And you'll notice that he's got those little feathers on his head. Now those feathers are just feathers, but lots of people mistake those feathers for Neo's ears. But his ears are on the side of his head just like a barn owl's. And those tufts are a good way of telling us how Neo's feeling. When they're up, he's quite happy, he's quite relaxed. When they go down, it's the opposite, he's in a bad mood or about to pounce on some prey. Now I'm sure you guys have heard that very common saying of the wise old owl. Okay, now it's not very true in Neo, okay? He's big, he's beautiful, but unfortunately there's not a lot going on upstairs. So Neo, can you put yourself away back into your tower? Neo, the other way. That's it, up we go. Give him a clap for coming out of it, that was Neo. Now that has unfortunately brought us to the end of the display, but we are going to bring out another parrot for you guys to meet. We're going to be bringing out our green wing macaw called Winston. So he's going to come out here and say hi to you guys. So if you've got any questions you'd like to ask about the birds, about Flamingo Land in general, I'll be happy to answer them. Here's the noisy fella himself. So if you've got any questions, I'll be happy to chat with you guys. But I do hope you've enjoyed the display, enjoyed meeting a few of our birds. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day here at Flamingo Land. So thank you guys for coming. See you all again soon, and goodbye.